On day 176, let me start by asking, have you ever gotten to the point in your life where you're just tired? You're just worn out and you're tired of making everything work on your own. You feel like you're alone in what you're trying to accomplish. I don't particularly feel that way in this season of life, but I know a lot of people do. And I have also in previous seasons been that way, where it feels like you're just fighting these battles on your own and trying to do everything on your own, and you just are taking one step forward and two steps back. You can sometimes live in very long seasons like that, where there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just a grind, and you're putting the effort in, but there's just not a lot of reward, seemingly, in that season. You're chasing success and approval and healing, trying to find peace, but you're still feeling empty at the end of the day. Like, to paint the picture of what I want to talk about today, that's kind of where I'm at. So I think about, why do humans feel that way? I think one is we live in a culture that tells us to take control, that tells us to be self-made and to do things our way. But when we try to hold these reins tightly, what we eventually discover is a difficult truth, which is we were not built to carry it all. We just simply weren't. Going back to music again today for the third day in a row, but this idea that I'm talking about takes me specifically to this Forrest Frank song that's called Your Way's Better. It's so good. But an excerpt from that song that serves as the motivational quote today, it says, "Oh Lord, I need you now more than ever. Would you put my heart back together? I searched the world till my head hurt, just to find out your way's better." I don't know if you've ever been there, but searching the world until your head physically hurts. You're doing everything right on paper and you don't understand why. You just still feel broken. You want healing, you're searching for it, but you're just not finding it in the things that are of this world. So many people are there currently. And if you are there, I think that's when the word of God needs to be spoken to you. If you go back to the Old Testament in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, I've talked about this verse before, but it's particularly related to this concept today. It says, trust in the Lord with your heart and trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So the Bible reminds us that our personal knowledge is limited, whether we like to admit that or not. We would like to think that we know best. And we would like to think that if we just hustle hard enough and if we plan hard enough, that we can fix things. But I think sometimes God will allow our human strength to run out, so we'll finally learn to rely on his strength. King David dealt with this in the Bible specifically. David had it all. He was anointed, he was victorious, but David still made decisions that led to brokenness. And in David's lowest moments, what he did is he cried out to God in desperation. It was like this epiphany of reminding himself that he is greater than I. In Psalm 51, David has this raw confession after one of the biggest moral failures. And what David says in Psalm 51, verse 10, it says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." So if you go back to that Forrest Frank line where it says, "Would you put my heart back together?" Like David knew, like we all eventually learn, is that like our hearts cannot fix themselves. Albeit we try until we find out that it's not sustainable. But we need God, the one who made us and the one that can heal us. I think a lot of us currently are walking around just exhausted in our day-to-day routines. And I was thinking about why that must be, and I think a lot of it is because we're trying to do God's job for him, and we're not good at it. We're not meant to carry the burdens that he does. We're trying to fix finances and futures and our identity, and we're trying to do all this on our own without surrendering it to him. It festers so much anxiety when you operate that way. But when we finally do let go and say, hey, like, God, I can't do these things and I can't be sustainable and taking all of this on my own, but you can. When we cast it onto him, I think we step into his strength and his direction. We start to realize the truth in that Your Way is Better song. Truly that God's way is better than our own. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to make sense in our timing. But I do truly believe that living that way with that perspective leads to a life of wholeness. It leads to a life of peace that transcends all understanding. So I would just encourage anyone, like if you feel like your strength is running out, let it. If your plan's falling apart, okay. Because what you might find is God's making room for his plans and his will over your own. You don't have to have it all together. Remember that. You do not have to have it all together. A lot of people put on a good front, but you don't have to have it together. Most people don't. But what you just have to do is to bring it to God, the one that does have it together. So lean into him, trust him, and remember that his way is better. Day 176.